Welcome everyone to another episode of Dynamics Corner. What does it take to implement Business Central? I'm your co-host, Kris.
And this is Brad. This episode was recorded on May 1st, 2025. Kris, what does it take for a BC implementation, migration, upgrade, re-implementation, whatever you want to call it? With us today, we had the opportunity to speak with an end user that recently had gone through a migration from 2013 to a recent version of Business Central. With us today, we had the opportunity to speak with Jesse, Rama, and Pablo.
Hello.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I got my sweater too, but I'm not wearing it right now. See that, Jesse?
This is we're gonna get you one even though you're not an MVP.
Oh, wow, but you have the fancy hat. I like the hat.
You like my hat? I'm not wearing it. I just wanted to mess with you.
Oh, I think you should have kept it on.
It's too big.
You're the host now.
That would have been a first.
I was gonna come in with my Boston accent and start being like, "Hey, everybody, what's going on?
Let's go to the bar. Boston accent.
Let's go to the bar after this."
That's a Southern accent.
I do have a Southern accent. I'm sorry, but yeah,
it's okay.
Y'all should see me. I am tucked away in the corner of my son's bedroom because there's construction going on downstairs in my house, and then I got all the way up here. And my neighbors are cutting their trees. So, yeah, this is my life.
It always happens to me oftentimes. If you know, you can see me scrambling because we do a recording. It's always inevitable that somebody comes and bangs on the door. Somebody, just the lawn team decides to come and cut the lawn or something. So,
yeah. And they stopped. So, they stopped. Hopefully they're done.
They're doing construction in your house? What are they doing?
They are remodeling my shower and they're putting in a closet for me, a closet system for me. So like, it's just a bunch of people in and out. It was supposed to be done by now. But that's
Are you treating this like a BC implementation where, staying in budget and understand?
Oh, I'm in budget. The construction people are over budget. They ruined some stuff. And I'm like, I'm not paying for that. You did it. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the BC implementations, we do appreciate you taking time to speak with us this afternoon because you, as a user of Navision or Nav or Dynamics Nav, recently went through an upgrade to Business Central. And we wanted to speak with you from a user's perspective, how that upgrade process or that migration or whatever you did, re-implementation, which we hope to speak about, how that process went, what you did as an organization to ensure that it went smoothly, some of the pitfalls or challenges that you uncovered that you didn't expect, maybe give some insights to someone who may be listening. But before we do that, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? Jesse, we'll start with you.
Hi, yes, I'm Jesse. I am the Senior Business Central Nav Support Manager. So I've been with Forum for 10 years this year, but I've been in the Nav Business Central world for about 17 years. So other than that, I do all this volunteer fun stuff for the Dynamics Community's Business Central board, and I help run the local user group meetings. And not to do a shout out, but we are having our very first local chapter meeting in Houston in June. Yep, since 2019. So it's all planned and booked. So just wanted to throw that out there because I'm proud of it.
Excellent. Congratulations. Awesome. Which date in June?
June 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Microsoft Center.
Excellent. Hope everybody attends. And,
me too.
Look forward to seeing what the agenda is. Pablo.
Yes, so Pablo Hernandez. I've been with Forum for 17 years with the BC support and BC security admin team.
Excellent. Rama, would you mind introducing yourself to us as well?
Sure. My name is Rama Setipeda. I've been doing Nav, like the development, for almost 20 years. And I enjoy doing support also, but I don't get to do a lot here in Forum. But in my previous companies, I do support and developer. My background is a developer, but I like doing both development and support. And it's been 9 years with Forum. So in few months, next year it'll be 10 years for me too.
Excellent. Have a
And just so
lot
you
of-
know, Rama, this is recorded, so I'm going to go sign 5 support tickets to you right after this, so you can do some
Okay,
support.
that's
That-
okay,
that-
totally okay.
That is what you have. You have it on record.
Give me
So that's
support work.
That's
Yeah.
another support you get.
But
So
I am like the level 3 support. Like,
Yep.
if I support the support team basically.
Yes,
So.
you
Oh
support
wow!
us more
So
than anything, yeah.
when everything really goes to hell, give it to Rama. Is that how it works?
Oh yeah, when we're done, when we've done everything we can and we're stuck and we're lost, we're like, Rama, we need you to look at this. We have one
nothing
other
ever-
internal developer as well who's not on this call that we do the same thing too. We're like,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to walk through this with us. Yep.
Nothing ever goes to hell. So it
Nope.
sounds like all of you have been working there for quite some time. And what were you using before you moved to Business Central?
Nav 2013 R2.
Nav 2013 R2, just when
Oh, you
just
guys
shortly
held on to
after
that.
you went from the role tailored client to what out there. And with that, what made you wait to go to the Business Central upgrade, or why hadn't you upgraded to the
Oh,
previous versions of Nav through the years from 2013 through 2018?
So technically, the very first project, this was in the works before I even started at this company. They were getting everybody off of Nav 5 and Nav 2009 onto Nav 2013. So when I started, we were still moving people to that. So that just took a very long time. We were doing one company at a time
Right.
when I started.
Depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did one company or couple companies, but there's a lot of companies in Nav 5 and 29 Nav 2009. So
How many companies do you have?
total 75, around 70.
75 companies?
75.
That's
Yeah. Ish. Yeah.
Wow.
I think we tried to merge few, and now we are down to like around 50 or 55.
Yeah.
Wow, that makes
And then-
sense. Why it took a long time, huh?
Yes, I could
Yes.
see that. 50 companies. And within those 50 companies, some of them just financial companies,
Yes.
or what features
Mhm.
within the application are you using within these companies?
So I would probably say about half would be finance companies, Rama, that we just
Yeah, 20,
general ledger,
25
post general ledger entries.
operational companies,
Yeah.
25, 30 operational companies, and then the remaining 25 are finance companies.
Yeah, finance companies. And the finance companies, very like small. We just do they just post a general journal entry in there once a quarter or once a month. Nothing major happens in those. The rest of them, we do like sales, service. Jump in anytime, Pablo, and tell me more. Warehouse, advanced warehousing in some. We do basic with bins in some. We have
Time
inventory
collection.
count, time collection module. Thank you.
Mhm.
What am I missing? I feel like there's
Scan
more.
guns.
Scan guns. We're kind of
There's a
across the
lot
board.
to-
Manufacturing. Hello, manufacturing.
Manufacturing.
Oh yeah.
I
the main
was
one.
waiting for that. So it sounds like you used a lot of the application, and with
Yes.
having an internal development team, you had also some of your own modifications, or you might have a significant amount of modifications. And when you migrated to Business Central, let's walk through the process of what you had done to plan or prepare for it. Did you go to Business Central Online, or are you using Business Central on premises?
On-prem. We got outvoted on that one.
You could outvoted on that one.
We tried. We tried so hard, and they were like, "Nope, we're staying on-prem," and we're like, "All right." So-
There's a lot of the implementations have their reasons for going on premises, and others go online. I'm happy to see that as time is progressing, some of those limitations or reasons why, I don't want to use the word limitation, but some of the reasons why some prevented or wanted to go, some of those reasons that prevented some from going online and staying on premises are being relaxed a little, which is nice. So it's there are some slight differences with
Yeah,
them.
I do want to go through that process with like what your process went. Deciding to move to Business Central. Brad and I wants to understand like such a you have a lot of entities, right? It's certainly a big implementation. You use all different modules within Business Central. I'm sure you're using different add-ons. So a lot of coordination that's happening. So as you decide to move to Business Central, was it a natural path to go to Business Central, or did you also look at other ERPs as well? And then when you decided, what did that committee look like? right? So, was there change management, project management, all that stuff being put in place?
So yes, we did actually. There was another ERP that was being considered at the time. Um, when me and my boss actually at the time, we presented Business Central because we have 7 Business Central employees, right? That are just specifically for support. 5 are support, 2 are developers, and that's what we do, and that's our job for this company. So we presented it as, Business Central was the best route. One, because we're already on Nav, so the functionality is basically the same, right? You're going to enter a sales order the same way. You're going to everything like that, right? We also told them it would be a lot more money to switch ERPs, which we did the work on that. Obviously, it would be, and they wanted to upgrade. They did not want to re-implement. So you can't upgrade to SAP or another GP, whatever you pick in the thing. You can only upgrade to BC, right? So that was kind of our walkthrough for that. And then once we got the approval, we originally were going to jump to NAV 2018 first, and we did in the background, but we didn't do it for the users. So we decided we could get to BC 14. So we did that instead. So we did the work to get there. We started with 2 companies, right, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, we started with 2 of our companies. They were kind of our test companies who use a lot of the modules in the system, also have the best users for us. We have a lot of power. We have power users in every ledger, so they have the best users. So for that, it was we wanted them because we knew we would get the best testing out of them, right? So we picked them. That project for them was 6 months. For us, it was a year behind the scenes, right? Where Rama, you can probably talk more about those jumps in the background on the technical side.
Yeah, I mean, more we converted the code we removed most of the code from Microsoft objects and separated it in preparation for the future upgrades. And then, we have a script which actually copies the companies. As you know, we started with 2 companies and we cannot, go to a different database. We started with one database with 2 companies. And then as we upgrade the other 2 or 3, we just used to copy those companies into the initial upgraded company. So yeah, the first step from NAV 13 to BC 14 took a little longer because we have all these companies and we want to make sure everything is included for those all of the companies. I think it took around a year and a half, right,
Yeah,
Jesse,
I
or
think we
2 years?
started, a little over. We were already doing the refactoring piece, right, to
Right. Yeah.
prepare for it. And I think that was a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. Yeah. But then
So,
go ahead. Yep.
so you worked on all of this in the back end using 2 to 3 companies as your sort of a pilot. You've identified your subject matter experts when you've decided to move forward, and then slowly added all these other companies
Yes.
along the way, and then kind of repeated the process to towards the other companies as well. So it created a foundation, it sounds like, for you, and then kind of repeated the process slowly with the rest.
Correct.
Yeah. So the first one we did, we were giving a timeline of 6 months. So we have 3 PMs that helped with this, right? We have 3 internal PMs, our team, and then the SMEs. So, we follow the regular phases of a project. We kicked off, we went through, we demoed it for everyone because we did, and this is going to probably surprise y'all, but we did go to the web client to BC on BC 14, which was not a fun thing at first, but it was beneficial when we took the next jump to get them used to it. So we did it 6 months. They kind of helped us stabilize all the major issues that came out of that as we were doing testing for that. And then when we started doing the rest of the groups, which I think we did 3 more groups, it was 6 at a time after that, or ish. Those we did in 4 months at a time, each round. Yeah. So it was pretty fast tracked after the first round was kind of complete.
Well, you have some of that testing. So going from 2013 to BC 14, you chose to upgrade versus re-implement, which means that you brought all of your historical information over.
Yes.
and had that as part of the upgrade. The other point that you mentioned is you had a lot of modifications within the system, and you decided to refactor you had to refactor the code in essence to
Yeah.
accommodate the future development and the way that the extension structure is for coding. How did you determine which modifications to keep? Did you go through a phase of reviewing the functionality of Business Central versus the modifications you have put in place to see which modifications you bring forward? Because I know personally that's always been a challenge with organizations upgrading or even migrating or re-implementing Business Central from an earlier version. They have a lot of modifications they made. They spent a lot on those modifications in both time and money. And sometimes before they even touch it, they want to bring all that stuff forward. What process did you go through to evaluate which modifications to bring forward versus the functionality that's within Business Central?
So basically what we did was, we have an external Excel, actually, Google Docs, actually, where we used to have customization specified for each company separately. Like if a company requested it, we used to keep track of it, like which company requested it and how many companies are going to use this. So we had something in place to identify how many customizations we have. I mean, may not be 100%. It's basically when I started in Forum, from then we kept track of it. It's from 2016. So when we started with the first two companies, we would go and see how many customizations are requested by this company, and I know how many are being used by other companies. So we would go to the SME, the power users, and ask them, are you really using these customizations anymore? They would say yes, no, or, and that would let us know, okay, how much should we keep it? And the second step is when we are merging the code with Microsoft. Most of the times, it's similar, the field convention or whatever. So then when we merging, actually we had external company helped us, so they would let us know, okay, we have this code. Do you want to still keep it or no? Of course, I had me and my other developer, we have to analyze and make sure, okay, we need it or not. So it's a little bit of manual work also, and then going to the business. And we had, it's not easy, but we had something in place, so it helped us to identify all these customizations, which ones to keep, which ones to remove.
You made a great point on what other end users or people that want to decide to move the Business Central to really have in place. You had mentioned that you've documented the development or customizations you've had in Nav, and then you quickly identified, okay, are they being used? So you're doing an internal discovery, and I appreciate you mentioning that, because a lot of times some of these businesses that's coming from Nav going to Business Central, they don't have those documented. So you putting some work behind that, some effort, it really prepared you to identify, okay, do we need to bring this technical debt or not?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that's a fantastic way to get yourself on a good foundation.
Yep. That really helped us, like, to identify what to keep and what to eliminate, from the customization.
And
No,
also at the end
it's
of
a
the day, I
good.
mean, it's about standardization as well. So you want to
Yeah.
standardize across companies, and you want to make sure, okay, if there is a customization that could help another company, then they can utilize that. We can keep it. So that was another big thing.
Yeah. And just to add to that too, a part of this round of upgrades that we did to get to BC 14, we used to have like 20 different posted sales invoices. Now we have one per country. Like, we standardize a lot of those documents. So when they ask for updates, we don't have to update 20 documents. We can just update the one, or things like that. So we did a lot of document standardization on top of that, but and reports, some of the reports we had like 2 or 3 versions of, we were able to standardize those as well. But I mean, data wise, you can't really standardize that once it's in there. So a lot of it, some of it, like unit of measure, has been a big issue for us. In some locations it's EA, and others it's each, things like that. But we did get to standardize what we could while we were doing this.
No, that's excellent. And it is a great exercise, as Kris had pointed. You can do an inventory of what you have and what you need and only bring forward what you need as well, which is a big help. It's worth, in my opinion, it's worth the effort and the time that you may spend as you're going through an upgrade or a re-implementation to really take a step back and inventory of what you have. And through this process, did you have to do any data? You mentioned the unit of measure. Are there any other data cleansing or data standardization considerations that you had to make?
We had to, okay, so was that on the BC14 jump? We had to remap item categories. Is that when it changed to the hierarchy? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we had to get that mapping redone and reloaded. What else was there? Was there another one that I can think of?
No, I mean, maybe, but
That was
what we
main
did was
one.
it was a main one, and
It was a big deal.
all the open documents, since if you don't go to the next version, it'll be there. So what we did was we cleaned up a lot of open documents,
Yeah.
like logs and everything. Before upgrading, we didn't want it to upgrade all the data, so we did quite a few cleanup in every jump we could.
Yeah. We did have some fields that ended up being that we customized that ended up being standard fields that we mapped during the upgrade process and got rid of our custom field. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
External document number, reference number.
There you go. Thank you. I knew you would remember, Pablo. We started this project in what, 2022? 2022 we started this project. So, and we got to 2024 wave 2 in March. Was it March we went live with that? Yeah.
Yes.
So we just finished. We just got up to date in March and just finished. So. Yeah.
Well, it does take some time to go through it, and if you have an implementation where you have 50 companies or more, I could see where it could take some time, not only for some of the planning and the testing that you have to do, but you have to get an entire organization ready for the switch as well. It's not so easy sometimes just to do it and switch. So I can understand that. So you did so if I hear you correctly, so you went from 2013 to BC14, and then you went from BC14 to 2024 wave 2?
Well, we had a jump in between there, didn't we?
You went to 18? Oh, no.
We didn't go from 14 to 23 and then to...
No, NAV 2013. He's talking about NAV 2013
no, I know,
to
I'm talking
BC14.
BC14
to 23. BC23 to BC20.
25, yeah.
24, 5, which is 24,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You pick it. You pick which way you want to word it.
I don't know why they did that.
Everybody still has the same issue with version numbers, right? It's so confusing.
I have that
so
issue
confusing. Yes.
daily.
Yeah.
It's 25, it's 24, it's 23, it's 2025 wave 1, which is 26, which is I
don't know. They should. Yeah.
It's very confusing. But yeah, so we took our time getting to BC14, right, Rama? We did it ledger per ledger. We put them on the web client because we knew we were jumping again pretty fast. So we wanted them to be used to that view rather than that classic view, that Windows view. So when we jumped to 23, everybody went at one time. We didn't take them per company. So that was a fun jump.
Oh, wow.
So organizationally, you went from 2013 to BC14. They were functioning on BC14. Then you did another migration to 2024 wave 2. Or to
23 wave.
No, 24 wave 2.
We had to jump in between there, between 14 and 24 wave 2. We went live last August with it.
Yeah, that is BC 2023.
23, yeah.
So you went from 23 then to 24.
Yeah.
You can see why we're confused. We don't know where we are.
You're not alone.
Okay, so and you did that jump for it sounds like for them to be familiar with the application.
Yeah.
Was there another consideration? Is that when you converted the extensions or from the code from Cal to AL as well?
Yes,
or did you
from
wait
the
until you got to 23?
BC14. Yeah, BC14 to 23 is when we converted the code.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your first step was to review your modifications, determine what you need to bring forward. You made and brought those forward to BC14 and Cal. You then went through and did some data sanitization, I'll call it, to the best you could to either accommodate the new formats or to clean it up a little bit. Then at that point, you had to now go to 23, which was with 14 being the last version where you could use Cal.
Right.
23 is now where you're full extensions. What was the process like for migrating the code to 23?
I mean, as
to
I
AL, I should say. Excuse
right,
me.
yeah, like as I mentioned, even in the NAP 13, we were when we did the refactoring in the back end, we had the NAP 2018 database where we moved all the code to functions, and that helped our external team to move from BC 14 Cal to AL.
Mm.
So, I mean, we already gave them outlines, defined everything, so they just had to move the code from Cal to AL for us, convert it basically.
That's a great strategy because you went to BC 14, it kept the back end in terms of Cal, but you did that so that you have a better user adoption to get them very comfortable using the web client on BC 14. So when you did the Cal to AL in 2023, it didn't really affect so much with the users because it's like, hey, I'm already in BC 14. I'm comfortable with the layout and the look, the user adoption. 23 is like, we're just with no more features.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, that's
Wow.
exactly what
Okay.
it was. That was the
The
exact
good thing,
plan.
yeah, exact thing. Yeah, BC 14 web client, of course, as you know, that was like, there's some limitations in it. And they were excited when we kept saying that, okay, all these things will be fixed in 23, next version. So, and for them, they didn't have any difference when they upgrade 23, except that they have more features available. So that's fine. And the back end side, they don't need to know what's happening on the back end side, and we are already preparing on from 13 itself to 14, and then when we had to move to the AL on the 23, so it was not that bad as like we thought. Like all the code conversion was good.
Was it fun when they went to BC 14? BC 14 web client was a fun one, right? And then so you had to convince them like, hey, it's gonna get better, guys.
It's gonna get better.
Well, so the main issue with BC 14 is the personalization sucks.
Right.
Like it's terrible. And that was like our biggest complaint. They were jumping in and out of role centers trying to change things. Like, they just couldn't do the things that you can do in NAP 13 when you personalize, right? And that's like a big deal to have your own view of how you look at the system. So we were like, just hang on. When we get to 23, it gets better. Please hang on. But like every group we rolled out we would get ticket after ticket after ticket. I can't personalize. I hate it. That was our biggest issue, right?
How long did they
The
live
biggest
with that?
one. Oh yeah.
So a couple of our ledgers, it depended on the phase, right? So we started in 2022, and I think all the way till August of last year. So we had, people were coming in each phase, but they had to live in
They
BC
lived
14.
for that long?
Yes.
Yes.
Not happy with us neither. And they were like, but we kept giving them the hope. We're like, we're almost there. When we went into testing for BC 23, you could see people were happier.
Just with the personalization, just with bookmarking. They're like, I get my bookmarks.
Just being able to bookmark. Yeah, it was funny.
That made me laugh. Brad, remember, hope isn't a strategy, but it sounded like this was a strategy, and it worked.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, but when we had to keep going. But if we would have stopped, I think they would have killed us at some point.
No, it does, because the product matured over the years as well.
Right.
I mean, it was a big jump even back then. I'm trying to think back. To be honest with you, I don't even remember BC 14. I know that was the last version where you could use Cal going to AL, but I know over the years they kept adding more and more to the web client. I almost feel like they released it so that they could get everybody to it and then start hearing some of the things that they know that they needed to invest to add. It sounds like, I don't know if that was the case, but it's almost like what you're saying, just bring everybody there, get everybody to a certain stable point, then now take into consideration what people are missing or what people are asking for, and then invest and add to that for them to have it.
Yeah.
So, and it's an interesting journey that you have. So now you went from 14 to 2024 wave 2 is where you ended up.
Yes.
And now you just finished the switch. Has the dust settled yet?
Yeah, actually it has. Pablo actually ran that project. So you could probably speak to it the best, Pablo. I mean, you were in the thick of it.
Yeah, I mean, we had less than 20 issues really reported. Most of them were due to some of the release included pages that we had custom. So our custom pages were replaced with now the standard Business Central, like Service Archive, for example. We had a custom for that, so that had to get replaced. So there were some permissions that were also required for that. So most of the issues that we had were related to permissions to new objects. And let's see, maybe our extensions, that's just about it, our add-ons. Some of that.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's excellent.
So when you went from NAV 2013 all the way up to BC 24, what was the ratio like in terms of like changing business processes versus customization? Clearly, there's some things that you didn't bring over. Was there a lot of that business process changes?
I don't think there was anything like major. We did have to leave behind, we had our own document attachment process in NAV 13 that did not upgrade, but we moved everybody to just regular attachments, and people seem to love that more. I don't think we had, except it didn't exist on the service side, but we built that for them. But I can't think of any other major process change that happened.
I think the other one was templates, item templates.
Oh, item templates, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that they have the, in NAV 13 and BC 14, they had their item templates that they could use and set up what's mandatory, et cetera. But now you have, in BC 25, you have your, I'm not even sure what the difference, I think it's configuration templates, maybe. And now in BC, it's item templates. So some of those fields that were included in NAV 13 and BC 14 are no longer available on the standard item templates that they have to use now in BC 25. So we're still battling that one.
Yeah. Yes, we are still battling that one in the UK.
Wow, it sounds like you have a lot. So looking back at the implementation and how you went through the planning. So you did the demonstrations to validate the product that you were moving to. You viewed your customizations. You did some data sanitization. You did an initial jump to increase user adoption, and I'm going to assume to also test the functionality as you migrated from Cal, which was the Wild Wild West, to an organized version of Cal. Then you converted your AL code, and then you migrated up to the version of Business Central that you're running now. That's a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, and people don't realize it's a lot. And it sounds like it's so easy.
That you summed it up. But hey, look, that last jump from like 23 to whatever we're calling this version we're on right now, 25.
Yeah.
That was like a breeze. We just called that a monthly release for us.
Yeah, that one was clean. That one was
super clean. So our goal moving forward, because we're on-prem, so our goal moving forward is to always be, I think, 2 jumps behind Rama, maybe 1 jump if we can, if it looks good. Behind. That way we can work out kinks and stuff like that. So all those kinks get worked out before we make that next jump. You stay,
the more current you stay, the easier it gets.
The easier it gets, yeah. It was
well, because you don't have as radical changes because they are evolving the application, they're adding features, they're adding functionality, they're changing the data structure, which is, again, it's normal part of the evolution of software as business needs. But if you can stay current with it, that's the advantage of the online version. You stay current with it all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through a 3-year implementation for each step, hopefully.
Yeah.
You can do it a little bit easier. So as far as the movement of the data, how did you move the data as you upgrade it? Did you use the standard tools for that? Did you have to get...
Most of them are standard tools, but we have quite a few custom fields, so we had to include our custom fields also. But we didn't spend a whole lot. It's most of them the standard tools only we used. Standard Microsoft tools.
I'm very happy to hear that because I've known others. Kris is clapping. I've known others that tried to do other external ways, and sometimes they paid for it.
Right, because the way it is, of course, done in extensions is all the custom fields are in a different table. They give us EXTs and appending to the standard tables, which is a good thing. So, I mean, we use the standard Microsoft tools to convert all the data.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'm happy to hear that. And if you have a lot of data to move, it must have taken some time to run. How much, if you can say? I mean, any of this stuff, if you cannot say, I understand as well.
I think one ledger was 48 hours or something.
Well, that was a lot, but overall, the whole database is 900 GB.
So it's 900.
Yeah.
So it's 900 gigabyte.
Right. Yeah.
And it took you how long to move it? It must have been challenging to do individual companies.
Not
Right,
not
in
to
there.
BC14. It wasn't. Was it? Was that
No.
that one was not that bad?
No, the latest upgrade we did all these
All of
800,
them.
900
Yeah.
GB. It took like 15 hours.
Oh, that's
Wow.
good. That's
That's
not
really
that bad
good.
at all.
Yeah. There's
That's,
few things we did after that which is not related to the upgrade, but we included it because it's the cleanup process and all. But in general, the Microsoft upgrade process didn't take like 15, not more than 20 hours, definitely. So
There
that's
you
why
go.
we had to do over the weekend. Yeah.
Use the standard tools.
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
no,
Yeah.
no, the standard tools were enjoyed. So looking back at this, if you could summarize, from each of you, what are some things that you thought went really, really well, and because of what for whatever reason, from preparation or planning, what went really well because of that, and then maybe now that the dust is settling, as we discussed, what would you have done differently? Or what have you uncovered as you went through that process? So somebody else who may be going through the similar journey, taking pieces, every implementation is different, but they may have not thought of something that maybe that you realized you should have or may have done differently.
I'll say one of the things that I think we did really well is we have a very strong group of power users in every ledger that we depend on for testing. So like my team will internally test, right? But we don't know everyday functionality of what goes on in every one of those ledgers. So when we identified them before we kicked off every one of these projects, and we asked them to break our system, literally, we were like, please break it. Do what you can to break it. We want to know. And I think that was like the biggest thing that we did that was helpful for us during this upgrade, because we caught a lot of stuff in the first round, I think, that would have been so major show stopping if we had 4 or 5 going at a time, like 4 or 5 ledgers going at one time.
Just to jump into that, you had SMEs that worked with you on the testing.
Mm-hmm.
Going through this process, often with the implementations, the challenge is how much time do you give someone to do testing? How do you manage the testing to make sure that they're actually testing? Did you have any tools in place to help with the testing? And then what about what some people say their day job? Because as you're going through this implementation, you may have these power users, and they do more than just test, or they do just more than, I'm assuming, than just see
work.
how things are
yeah.
working. They do have a day-to-day work for it. But how did you manage that to allow them to have time to test, and how did you track the testing and come up with use case scenarios for them to test? What was that process like?
I'll give that one to Pablo because he just did the last round of it, so he's probably got it fresh in his mind.
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, we took the release notes, and those release notes we divided those up. We were seeing what was going to impact us, what wasn't. Like some of the AI stuff that's in there, the co-pilot things. I mean, we're on-prem, so that's not going to affect us. So we kind of took those out of the equation, and we just worked on what was going to impact all of our ledgers. And then we assigned those to our SMEs on our support team, and those SMEs tested internally. And then we created the test scripts, if needed, for our end users to actually test. We set a deadline for them to test, and then once they passed it, then we were good to go. We were good to release that with the BC25.
Yeah, and that one was for the 25. For the rest of them, we actually have super scenarios that we established a long time ago, that we make all of our, and we use TFS for testing. So we make them go in and sign off on them in there. They're very generic test scripts, basically like the basics to creating a sales order, shipping a sales order, invoicing, whatever. If they have any other fields that they require, things like that, we ask them to make sure they test them on their own. For all of these updates that we've done, we have sessions. We have 2-hour sessions with the power users where we make them sign off on the test scripts and do the actual testing. And then we do separate sessions for training for everybody else who wants to join. Everything gets recorded, so if someone can't join, they can watch it later. We do have certain power users who do go above and beyond for us, and they would take, like, if they're in like sales, they would actually take 5 or 10 orders they entered in their live environment during the day, and they'd spend an hour at the end of the day entering these types of orders in to the test environment just to have real live kind of scenarios. So we're kind of lucky with those. We don't require those. We only have to have a sign off on a test script, but we do ask for those kinds of things. So we do have, like I said, when I say our power users are the best, like we have some really good power users out there that want to make sure they function great when we're live. So it helps us
That's
out.
fantastic to
Yeah.
hear. Like you giving that, and I know Brad and I had plenty of conversations with others in the community where you have to give an opportunity for them to be able to test, and it sounds like you have that planned out where you're giving them 2 hours, whatever day that is, and just all they do is like, hey, you're allowed to do this. You're encouraged to test. You're encouraged to break the system and get comfortable with it, and not reprimand them for, hey, you're not meeting your day-to-day task, you know what I mean, like, and then do
Yep.
it at the same time, help us implement this thing. So you have one of those, like, I hate to say rare, but
It is. It is. It
know.
took us a long time to get these power users on board too. I think it's gotten better with every jump we've done. I think they've learned, but like it took us a while. But yeah, we really do have great power users that do that. We also, I mean, that environment it's a testing environment. I think it was there for what, 2-3 months for them to test in during the whole process. Well, because we were doing sessions and we were like, you don't have to wait for us. You can log in right now and start your testing. We're just going to have the session anyways, kind of thing. We had early morning 2 a.m. sessions and then repeated them again at noon just because we're, international.
All over the world, international, yeah.
And the major thing too, sorry, Ram, I'm just going to say this so you can go.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The major thing too is we make them test with whatever permissions they have in production today.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just give up and want to test functionality and set all their users up as supers, and then they go live and then they have no permissions to do anything. So we do test permissions along with that whole process as well.
That is beautiful, because I know of so many implementations that the first day they start, everyone gets frustrated because they can't do anything, and it's because, as you had mentioned, they didn't want to inhibit testing because they didn't want users to get frustrated with permissions, but then they just sort of push that down the road, because now when they're going live and they're supposed to work, it seems like nothing's working because they can't do anything.
Yep.
Right. It's because the permissions. So it's great that you tested with that and you flushed that out as well too. And now, since you're up into the latest version, you can incorporate the new love of my life, page scripting. That can maybe help you with some of these testing
I hope so. Yeah, it's on my list. Yeah. So we actually have one location that we acquired. Was it last November? I think they're a Business Central online, and he uses the page scripting, our support guy over there, and he loves it. We have to be able to record the results somewhere when someone runs the test, because we get audited and we have to show test results. Yeah, so that's the only thing we haven't really figured out yet, but it is on our list. I know, Pablo, haven't you dove into it a little bit?
Yes, a little bit.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yes. So as soon as we had that update on there and that release note, I went and tried it out, and it was great. But
it's wonderful. Replay will track the test results for you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. My guy at Veriperm, well, at the other ledger Veriperm, he says he just takes screenshots, and I'm like, I'm not saving screenshots. So.
Yeah, Pablo, take a look at Replay. And you can automate some of those tests and it'll track the results for you.
Okay.
It will give you some good it'll give you a lot with it. It does give you videos, it gives you the results, it gives you everything. So you'll be able to see, if you'd like, to see the actual tests that are going with it too. So it sounded like the testing was something that you thought you did really well. What about...
And we always say one more thing and every time we upgrade, not only creating new orders, we make them test the orders existing before upgrade, partial orders, because if something got upgraded, we don't know. So if you created new, it might work. So that's something we make sure they test new orders and old orders and partial, invoice or shipments or whatever for the old and new orders. So
yes,
that's
and invoicing. And honestly, that is a result of our tax engine. When we did the last update, we had to actually write a script to revalidate all our orders for tax because they weren't validated. Yeah, we learned that one on group 1 of the BC14 jump. No.
You need those taxes.
Right, need taxes, yeah. So
Pablo, Rama, do you have anything that you think went really well from your perspective other than the testing?
I
that
would
you
say,
properly planned for?
yeah. I mean, I would say for from a permission standpoint, testing with the user's permissions internally, that's always helpful as well to make sure that you can, get those error message before you hand it over to the user. So you can test with super just to make sure that everything works, that everything functions correctly, but then also turn around and give your, take a user, a power user, copy their permissions, give it to your user. That way you can test with their permissions and you can catch everything beforehand. That's also really helpful. And let's see. Like Jesse said, I mean, our power users are great. So that's definitely a plus in our SMEs on our team.
It's excellent. It all comes down to the users to make the implementation easier.
That's
And
right.
also the users sometimes don't realize they're making it easier for themselves. And by getting them in there, it sounds like they were able to have some ownership of it as well. So I think it's a little bit easier if they feel that they have a good part or part of the implementation process versus it being forced down their throat, to say it bluntly, which is nice. Rama, is anything that you look back that you thought went really well that you planned for?
I mean, overall, everything's fine. For me, being on the technical team, the way we started doing the code conversion, and then now it's ongoing. Actually, if we still find some issues, and we just make sure that we follow the standards, like basically Microsoft standards. I know we cannot customize any of the standard objects now, so we just try to keep it as separate as it is, so more easy for the next upgrade. So the timeline, the reason why I'm saying is every time we've been upgrading from 13 to PC 14 to 23 to 25, the timeline went down, right? Every time we're doing it. So that really made it's a good thing
Absolutely.
because we are separating everything from Microsoft objects. So which means when we are upgrading it, we just take it out, upgrade Microsoft, and then plug it in, and that's it. So just we are doing really great on that.
Excellent,
I
excellent.
do like your cadence to do two versions behind, right?
Yes,
Because a lot
yeah.
of times where people move to on-prem Business Central, they kind of just leave it alone as if they'll never upgrade again. And it is an internal conversation or internal decision. Okay, how far back do you want to be behind? Because then you go back to that same old ways of nav where you stay in nav 2013, right? for years to come, versus with Business Central, with the way you guys have set up, you're setting it up every two versions behind at most, and so you're always upgrading. So that's fantastic.
It is. You get the latest updates as well. So if there are things that aren't working properly or need to work slightly different, you get those so you can alleviate some frustration. And again, as we were talking about, it goes much quicker. In retrospect, looking back, what is something or some things, if you have, that you look back that you wish you had done differently or you wish you had planned differently, sort of something that you had learned that maybe didn't go the way that you wanted and you wish you had either known about or planned differently?
Oh, Rama, you should tell them about the server patches. Remember the server patches ran during the upgrade?
Yeah,
and rolled it back.
Yeah. That's of course an internal schedule now. I mean, it happened first time, and then from then onwards, we just make sure we keep track of any patching not done during the go live, because we lost a day. Luckily, that it was for BC 23. I think we planned. We gave buffer a lot of buffer, so that's why we didn't really. Even though we lost a day of work because of the patching for the servers, but still we made it. But that's something.
Yeah, we made it in the deadline.
The deadline was made because we planned we planned
for
ahead.
it. Yeah,
we
gave
just
ourselves a
day extra, and of course the like Pablo said, when we started this upgrade, he went through the Microsoft release notes, but I think we 100% don't want to go with whatever they're saying because they missed some of them. Because when we are doing the code, I think conversion, then we have to do QA and see what else is involved in it. Because there's some things Microsoft might think it's not a big deal. I think there's a field which they made it a mandatory during the code, but it's not even there in the release notes. But it is part process for our side. it affected, but it didn't make a huge difference. We had to work after the release upgrade, but we overlooked it because we thought like, okay, well, they didn't do anything. So for the next version, not only the release notes, we have decided to go through we'll just do a QA like Microsoft objects and see what is that they removed or what is that they added, and we can analyze, is it going to affect us or not. So that's one of the things that for us, for the technical side, we have to do it for the next time.
Yeah, it's good. I've heard stories like that before, so others you're not alone, where they had server reboots or other maintenance plans scheduled, and it threw things off quite a bit. So you're not alone in that aspect. Are there any other things that you can think of that you wish you would have planned differently for or handled differently? For anybody that may be going through the process, or was it just perfect? No other things.
No, we're not perfect.
We're not perfect.
I will say we had some add-ons that we kind of struggled with. I know our tax engine for the first jump, I think we just assumed everything would update, but we had to actually reload a lot of stuff with our tax engine, revalidate, run those scripts to revalidate all the open orders, like just stuff we weren't expecting that we didn't catch during testing. I remember that for the tax piece. I know, Pablo, was it the TCM? We lost some historical data that you had to go and manually load.
Yes, for some posted time cards, things like that. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, all fixable things just weren't caught in the front end because nobody thought, let me go look at my historical posted time card lines, or everybody just assumed once you plugged in your tax engine, all you had to do is click statistics again and it would be fine, but not everybody does that. So just little things like that.
Oh, great. So
other than that, we're perfect.
No, it sounds it. It sounds like you went, well, I mean, you spent some time to plan it. You had the users testing, and fortunately you have the right individuals on your team to help push you through and guide you through it. Not all implementations have to be problematic, and nor in this case are all implementations problematic. But it just goes to show that a little bit of planning and proper procedure can make it easier, and you don't have to rush through it. I know it's not easy sometimes when you get those users in there, but if it's sometimes just training issues versus having systemic or data issues, it makes it a little bit easier. But I'm happy to hear that you had a pleasant journey with the application, which is great.
Yeah, our project planning timeline I think it's perfect. We all agree with timelines. Sometimes they crunch it, but normally, yeah. But in general, the planning team, like project manager, planning is actually good.
Yeah,
no, that's
they're
good.
heavily involved as well. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. No, that's good. I was about to ask about the managing of the project. I mean, clearly, the three of you are in the trenches and testing and making sure users are testing. But at the same time, somebody has to coordinate all of that, right? So I'm sure you're working with all the different internal departments, but then you also have potentially your partners and your ISVs that you work with. I mean, those all still have to be coordinated. So in Jesse, you had mentioned you have 4 project managers. Did I hear that right?
We have 3. Well, we have 4, but 3 were on the project. But our one of them is the manager of the project managers. I don't know the project manager. And he helps out too as much as he can. But the 3 were actually the ones planning it together. We did, I think, not for 14. Did we bring the 2 other ones? Remember, we had 2 consultants
23.
Come in. That was 23. Yeah. They came in and helped during the 23 one because it was a bigger jump. It was like all the ledgers were jumping at one time. It was more. But for the BC 14 jump, we had the 3, and we really laid out the foundation for that and just fast tracked it for the rest of it.
Were there internal PMs or were there? Okay, so with you, works.
Yeah, 3 internal PMs for the BC 14 jump, and then we had 3 internal and 2 external for the 23 jump. Yeah, just because we were taking more ledgers at once. The only regret I have with the fast tracking of the timeline, when we went to from 14 to 23, in there, or some of the BC 14 updates afterwards, is we tried to merge testing and training into one session, and I think it caused a lot more confusion at some areas. I don't think I'll do that again. I think we'll just keep it separate moving forward. Do you remember that, Pablo?
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, we had to change
You
it
tried
up in the
something
middle.
new?
We tried something new, and I think everybody was confused on who had to sign off on the test scripts was the main thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were like, no, just this person. It's fine, but it gets a little confusing in there.
Yeah,
So,
it definitely is. I mean, especially what worked before. Yeah, you tried something new, it didn't work. You iterate fast. Now, going back to the ISV comment I made earlier, was there any ISVs or add-ons that you had where, they didn't exist in Business Central? Did you come across any of those? And if so, what was your process like in replacing them, or did you even replace it and just change the business process? Was there any of that happening?
no, I think
The
everything
matrix
updated. We had
the attachment
Yeah,
is the
the
one which
matrix.
they didn't
It's-
upgrade. We
yeah.
used the standard Microsoft functionality, which
Um,
process-wise is not different, but it's just like different Microsoft we are using. And I think easy security they
Oh,
didn't
yeah, that's
upgrade,
right.
but the standard Microsoft security is good. So
mhm.
we had like these two not working in the Business Central, but Microsoft options are already there. So
Yeah.
we didn't have
Would
to
the
really
rental
replace
fall into
it.
that? Rental module?
Well,
would
we
that fall?
removed the rental module because
Yes.
it wasn't being used during
Gotcha.
the update. We stripped that out, and one of the shipping add-ons that we had sold those ledgers,
Mhm.
and they were the only ledgers that used it, so we stripped that shipping add-on that we had out as well.
That's right.
Got it. So
Um,
there wasn't major ISVs or add-ons where like, hey, they're not going to Business Central. So there was like a major change.
no,
I mean, you
just
mentioned it, easy security, but then you have a replacement for that, out of the box
Out of the box, yeah.
functionality.
yeah.
Okay.
Everything else updated. Everything else, had an extension we could use.
So you had
So.
the perfect storm, I guess they would say, right? Like just
Mhm.
everything.
I mean,
just
we still had to customize some of those extensions to make them work for us. And with our processes, we have a very, very customized inventory count process. So that one actually, when we jumped to 23, wasn't ready yet. It took a little bit longer. So people were having to we have a process in place where we schedule random counts. So we have it's a job runs and it just creates a count for us, and then they go print it and they do counts. That wasn't working, so they were having to manually run their counts every week to do the randoms, things like that. Just little things that weren't ready yet, but like I said, that inventory count module that we use, we customized it a lot to just work with our policy that we have
Sure.
for counting inventory. So yeah.
Sure.
Other than that, I mean, everything else I think was pretty straightforward. Quality
So-
took a little bit longer, Pablo.
Yes. Yeah, quality was
So-
new because it moved from what it was to separate. So it was kind of a package before, quality and time collection, but then they separated that. So that was a new thing.
Got it. So with all of this successes, you have certainly a lot of planning that you've done. Everything went out pretty smoothly. Are any of you doing any speaking sessions then to talk about how you should do a Business Central implementation or upgrade?
No.
This is great.
Haven't you met me by now? You know how much I hate speaking. Like, Lord.
That's a
But
natural thing.
I did volunteer Pablo to join the New to BC panel for Summit. So me and Pablo will be on that panel at Summit. New to BC Ask the
That'd be
Experts
fun.
with David
Is that called
Lester.
volunteer still? Pablo?
Volun-
Is that volunteering still?
That was voluntold right
Voluntold.
there.
He was voluntold. Yeah. Well, so I had one of my employees do it with me last year, but she's not going this year. So I was like, well, Pablo, you can do it. You'll be good.
That'd be good. I'm looking forward to seeing that session. I'll definitely attend.
You'll probably have a session at the same time. So,
Probably not. The new to BC, they usually do first, right? The first step.
The first timers meeting that's me, Steve Chinsky, and Kim Dahlfield, and that's on day one. That one's like a fast chat one. This one's that panel one, the Ask the Experts panels we do for every track. We usually do for every track. I added ours because I wanted ours in there because ours was very successful last year. We had a lot of questions. A lot of people who were moving over from GP were in there asking us a bunch of questions.
I think you'll have a lot of questions this year based on what I see and what I know that
Yeah.
there are.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the product.
Yeah, that's
is
why
sort of
David Laster's
exploding.
in there, because he's very, very knowledgeable on that migration. So
That's good to have
You
someone
should
in
take
there.
this. We'll take this recording. You set
Mhm.
your structure of your agenda, then you submit your session to how to implement Business Central in a 55 company. That's actually impressive.
Brad
It
summed
is
it up
Well
earlier,
done.
so we have the notes already.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll get you the transcript, and you can go through the process and
There you
tell your
go.
tales and go from there. Well, Jesse, Pablo, Rama, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today and share your story. It's nice to hear, a nice implementation story of Business Central and what it takes to go through implementation. And it's nice to hear that they're not all bad. And some of them are very easy, and a lot of them are very easy as well. Regardless, you may hear of some. So we look forward to seeing you in Orlando in October. Hopefully, I can go to your new to BC session as well. And we look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Awesome. Perfect.
All right.
Thanks
Ciao,
for
ciao.
having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Kris, for your time for another episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. And thank you to our guests for participating.
Thank you, Brad, for your time. It is a wonderful episode of Dynamics Corner Chair. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners tuning in as well. You can find Brad at developerlife.com. That is DVLPRLIFE.com. And you can interact with them via Twitter, DVLPRLIFE. You can also find me at matalino.io, MATALINO.io. And my Twitter handle is Matalino16. And you can see those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, and take care.